All right, we should be live. Yes, we are. Do. Aaron, I'm picking my nose. Derek, you're cute. All right, pod's out. Uh,
40 seconds, gentlemen.
I'm so early on the live.
No, you're not live yet, I hope.
Yeah. Well,
No, you're not. Edge Radio Australia, of course, it is time for the Greater Wealth. We've got Derek beside me, always, mate, with all information ready to educate us, what can I say, about all things greater and all things wealth and the combination thereof. I'm just making this up on the spot, mate. I don't know what you do. I don't know. You bring happiness in my life.
Most people don't know what I do.
No. If you just describe it to us in a few words.
The way you want it? You want to be anonymously awesome?
Well, something you're not
cool.
achieving now.
Pretty cool.
Not this man, anyway. You're achieving it. You're certainly not. Over there,
You smell that?
Travis.
You smell that? That's the smell of jealousy.
Oh, there's so much jealousy to be smelled at the moment, let's face it. All right. Great to have everybody here. Great to have another show every week. You bring a lot of information, mate. And where we basically talk about the combination of how, look, politics and finance, how they interact and how they change our lives and the important things that we should be aware of. So what
the greatest thing I love about Derek's show?
What's that, mate?
It's all the weird, random, wonderful things that we learn from him.
We do every single week. I know.
I don't think I've ever had a show where it's not something that's like, oh shit, I didn't know that.
All right, well, let's jump into
like
it.
An idiot now.
So, yeah. Let's jump into it, mate. You've got the computer. You're officially in charge.
We need a big Edge Radio sticker for the back so we can hide the apple.
Let's do that. I've got one. I'll make that happen.
Is it up there? We should just load up the back of his laptop with all our sponsors.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
But in the meantime,
it's my laptop.
In the meantime, can we jump into the show? That'd be good too. All right.
It's my laptop. I can show what I want to.
Look, going downhill.
20. I had on the weekend think about where to get cash.
What a struggle.
What ATM is open these days? Which bank has closed what? And
I can share. I've got a really personal one on this one. I'll share this in a moment. But you go first.
Go on.
Whoops.
I'm starting to get some numbers on what's actually going on.
All
right. So there are 2,100 bank branches have closed in Australia since 2017, especially in regional areas.
Wow.
So APRA did a 6-year analysis, and it's 2,100. And Mr. Trevero, I should say, said these numbers mark 39% reduction in the number of branches in major cities and metropolitan areas. Regional areas suffered a 34% loss. And Malcolm Roberts of the One Nation Party said that's it. So he summarized, 30 to 40% in the last 6 years, he clarifies, to which Mr. Trevero said that the number of ATMs across the country was also reducing. Now, if you can't find an ATM, here's why. Metropolitan areas are suffering a 60% decline.
They're just nowhere.
And the regional area is 50%. So
there you go.
It's huge. Now, on top of this, it gets even better.
Okay.
Since that information has been released, Bankwest, which serves 1.1 million customers across Australia, just announced the other week that they're going to close another 3 branches in WA, the only state where it still has a physical presence. So it's just taken all its other ones off. They're closing them in Armidale, Perth. They close in January 18. Maddington's going, and Kununurra on the WA Northern Territory border. And then one of the majors, National, of course, Bankwest is owned by CBA, Commonwealth Bank. National Australia Bank has now said that it's going to close a whole bunch of them this month, about 36 branches across Victoria, Queensland, West Australia, ACT, and New South Wales.
Oh,
You know what I call CBA?
What's that?
Can't be asked.
Yeah,
like they
okay.
just cannot be asked giving any form of customer service whatsoever.
Look, in the last few months, I diced ANZ because the service was just appalling. Everything
Did you
was
souffle them
offshore.
Afterwards?
What was that?
Like busy diced them? You souffle?
I did. Yeah.
A nice little stir fry.
Why do I let him come every week? I don't know. Anyway, so look, I got rid of them because of the fact that the service was so poor. All right. And the fees certainly didn't seem to change. They were exactly the same as when I did get service, and now I get none whatsoever. Now I'm currently finding that the NAB is exactly the same. They're reducing my services, but my fees keep going up. What a surprise.
Inflation.
Oh,
Inflating their fees.
Well, here's the funny thing. So if you look at why are the banks doing this, what they say and what they're doing, obviously I'm going, yeah, right. But they're saying with more customers choosing to bank online over the phone or by video, and because fewer customers are using branches to do their banking, we've made the difficult decision to close some of our branches. That's on their website. This is when they recorded cash profits. This is NAB at least of 7.7 billion, up 8.8%. And APRA, the Australian Prudential Regulatory Authority, last year shows 400 bank branches were closed across the country in the last 12 months to 30th of June. What this is saying to me is it's totally looking at what it wants to look at. Right? Of course. It's not considering the other reasons you have to go into the bank, right? One of the big ones is that the government's jumping up and down with the Know Your Client rules and pointing the shotgun at the banks to say, you better focus on the customers. Sometimes that is difficult to do over the phone or online. And typically what's happening in the banking industry, so you do anything online, you have to get certified copies of any documentation, especially when you're dealing with companies, trusts, self-managed super fund type documentation. It can get a lot of paperwork, right?
Absolutely.
It's a lot easier to take the original documents down to your local branch and sit in front of somebody and say, take a copy of what you need. This is what's up to date. This is what my accountant sent me or my lawyer has sent me. Take what you need, right?
I got an answer for that.
That administration is a really important thing. This is what opens accounts up. Okay. So there's that service. The other problem we've got here is that some banks are refusing to take cash. And it's kind of like, well, isn't that what you're meant to doing? I think what they're forgetting is the whole thing of customer service and in the aim of profits.
What is that concept?
It's pushing all their customers away. So yeah, that's where things are at the moment. If you're finding it hard, it's almost like we're deeming cash too hard to deal with. We're going to charge you to deal with that. We're already charging you fees.
Yeah. Well, they're saying there's less people who are wanting to use the branches. Well, there's a good reason. I go into a branch. There's 2 staff. Okay. I had to go. No, I put cash in a few weeks ago. Right. Go put the cash in, and it was 40 minutes. Right. To put some cash in. You've got to be kidding me.
And then when you get to the counter, they say, "Oh, there's an ATM that can do that."
Spot
so
on.
The other thing is, have you ever been to a bank when it was empty? No,
Oh,
I've never been into a bank where
I think a few years back. Yes,
a few years back. That's when they still had the majority of those 21,000 branches still open. So every time I've gone to the bank, I've had a line out the door. Because people try and get service. Now, in regards to the administration side of things, documents and all that sort of stuff, you've got the tellers who are doing the copies have to verify that that document is a true and original copy. So if they offload that to a justice of the peace to say that this is a true and original copy of the original, they have no legal liability to the person who, let's say it's a fraudulent activity and they're trying to open up a bank account illegally. The buck falls onto the justice of the peace or whoever certified that document, not the bank. So they're doing that to pass the buck on any responsibilities.
And the lawyers
they
run
have.
the earth. Well,
So like that joke says, what are 10,000 lawyers on the bottom of an ocean?
Good start.
So the reason they're saying less people are using the branches is because there's less things you can actually do in the branches.
That's because they force the customer away. They've pushed them away. That's why there's less there. They've done this. They did that 10, 15 years ago when people would line up and say, oh, you can do this online. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, you're losing your job, staff member, by doing that. It's a double-edged sword.
It is. It is.
So Luan's just gone to Vietnam. I keep telling people.
Who's Luan? Sorry.
The wife.
You don't know.
I think they've been watching us long enough. So the wifey has gone to Vietnam. So in Vietnam, they don't like money transfers. It's a cash economy. Okay. So we tried to take out a couple of $1,000s for her trip to make sure she's got money for taxis, flights, food, bribes. I mean, government interventions on things. So you never travel to Vietnam without cash, like a decent amount of cash. So first of all, we live near the Armidale area. We had to go all the way up to Maddington before we could find a branch that would actually allow cash out. Sorry, not a branch, an ATM that would allow cash in.
Not even a branch.
That's
not even a branch.
For those who don't know, that's what, 25-minute drive?
In traffic, about half hour.
Yeah.
So it's just stupid. It's getting to the point where it's getting harder and harder and harder just to even see cash these days. So,
and people don't know what to do with it.
Yeah,
right.
And then you lose the internet because Australia's got shit ass internet. And then you can't buy anything. Or if you work in a petrol station, you're trying to do like fuel up because you work nights, and then all of a sudden the bank goes, "Oh no, we're down for general maintenance for the next 3 hours." What do you not do when you've got?
I can tell you because it happened to me. Yes. I had to literally sleep in my car. I used to
work in a petrol station, and it happened all the time. Wow. There's a thing called an IOU, so you can actually fill out an IOU, pay extra money, and come back another day and make the payment.
Or you do what I'm finding. I'm trying to transfer funds from Bankwest to CBA, which are all the same bank, and then I need to move it back to another account with Bankwest, right? And it was fine getting it to CBA, but it's taken how many days to get it out of CBA back to Bankwest again? And it's, but we want you to do this online. It's like, no.
And this is the thing we have to resist against this sort of, it's absolute tyranny, let's face it. It's control again of our assets and our finances. But, it is such, you feel like you're one person, you're fighting against this bloody big machine. Like, what's some practical ways we can get around this, mate?
Well, when you do get cash, hang on to it is one thing.
Well, hang on, isn't it the case? Now, I could be wrong.
I mean, we had this incident that came last week that a lot of Australians are hoarding cash, right? And so it may get to a point where Australians, and I've heard some kind of talk like this, people starting to talk this way, which I thought was very interesting dialect, that how can we create our own economy? And seriously, they're thinking, how can we do it outside of the banking system?
It's already there. People just need to understand how to do it. So fee for service is a good one. So, you do this for me, I'll do that for you.
That's
So remember, most people have a skill or trade or time that they can use.
Sure.
So let's say you want a Sparky to do something for you. So government regulations, there's certain things he has to do, but you can always barter, see what they want. So a lot of the Sparkies will do things to help you do other things. So plumbers are the same. Let's say you need a brick wall out the front. Okay, no worries, you build a brick wall, I'll do something else for you. So there's always something that you can trade or barter with without actually getting the banks involved. Again, obviously cash is king as well. But just we do have a lot of comments coming through. And I just want to do a special shout out because I think this is the first comment I've seen from it. So Sharon, welcome to the stream. Cash is king coming from Sharon.
Sharon is bang on the money, quite frankly, right there.
I remember the first time I met Sharon. It was at one of the freedom rallies.
Yep.
Her partner got pulled over by a cop. This is back in the what was Dwayne's one? Not Camp 2. What was Dwayne's? I forgot. Campcast. That's the one. Anyway, so we rocked up with the cameras, and then the cops immediately packed up their shit and fucked off. And it was awesome. So it was at one of the freedom rallies. So so welcome to the stream, Sharon. Cool. We've got Damien coming in. Good morning, afternoon, gentlemen. Aaron looking as sexy as ever. He's looking straight up Aaron's shorts again.
Oh, look, Damien, all I can say is, mate, go and see a doctor. Okay, really. Specsavers are calling your name, but appreciate it. Josh is always great value as well.
I just love his A. Like the A is beautiful. Supermarket service trends to zero. Prices keep on rising. Yep. And he had another one here. Trying to withdraw more than $1,000 from a bank, and they'll question you like they think your kid is your kids or something being held hostage. There's a really interesting YouTube video by, I think the dude was Lebanese or something, heavy Arabic accent on him, and he went in to withdraw like a large sum, like $15,000. So they go, "Oh, what do you need that for?" He goes, "Oh, it's for a penis extension."
That's right.
And you should have seen the look on the lady's face. It was hilarious.
He's a very, very popular TikToker. I don't know his name offhand, but you know what? And this is a great thing. I really, really, really recommend political stuff. Throw in a bit of comedy, right? Like keep us smiling, because that's a great way. Look, we kind of entrust our comedians to very much cover political stories, to make discussions, bring them to the fore. And unfortunately, at the moment, with woke comedy, especially here in Western Australia. It's ridiculous. Just so people know too, as far as if you go into things through Fringe, I used to enjoy Fringe. I don't even go to Fringe anymore because Fringe are giving a list to comedians of jokes that they're not allowed to tell.
So really?
Yes, they are
censoring the comedians.
They are censoring the comedians. So Fringe, read my lips.
I had a Karen moment with Fringe.
Oh,
so good old Stalkbook came up, and you got to remember, Stalkbook Facebook is 13 plus. That's the rating for it.
Okay, didn't think of that.
Yes, it's 13 plus. So there's an image for Fringe World, a whole bunch of dudes and G-bangers pouring like fluorescent stuff on them. So you got to remember, this is going to be seen by kids that are 13, and now that they've got the Facebook kids section as well. So I was like, you know what? No, I don't get my inner Karen on, and I reported that. I said that's sexual content that shouldn't be showing.
And they'll say that it is acceptable content because apparently that's okay.
The algorithms will pick it up and it'll reduce how much it gets seen. So anyway,
there you go.
Damien, will cash become rarer before, therefore becoming more valuable than internet money? Ooh. Mr. Smart Money Person, Derek, what's your thoughts?
I don't think it will be. Whatever the government decides to do on that, it's said, because they have that thing of legal tender is the big issue. So what they accept as legal tender or issue as legal tender will be the thing that goes there. And of course, we're the ones who vote Parliament in and vote them out. They're there to represent our wishes and needs and how to run community.
Okay. So here's another question, follow on that one. Do you think cash will ever be removed as legal tender, and are they allowed to do it as per the Australian Constitution?
I don't know the Australian Constitution's
I might check
legalities.
Please check that. I'd really like to know that.
Sorry, I'm sending myself an email to check it.
You'll have to do some more question with notice, as I say, Travis.
I'll take that question on notice, thank you. How many of us have been sitting there watching Senate inquiries? Jeez, we need lives, clearly. Okay.
But that's literally every question thingies.
It's ridiculous.
I think this is why I've been seeing, I like the idea of preparing for the future when it's easy.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So you think of what's the worst that can happen. Okay. My business did very well because it was online during COVID.
Okay.
It was business as usual, and we had our biggest profits ever during COVID. Okay. Okay. We prepared for the future. No, I'm not showing off here, but what I'm saying here, guys, is like, you have to kind of get into Boy Scout mode here. And think, what's the worst thing could happen? So let's say if cash went, right, what would you default to? Okay.
I'd go to barter. Straight away. Yeah, that'd be my default. Obviously, crypto I'm very keen on because I see a lot of potential there. They're the two I would go to straight away.
Yeah. So there's crypto. Obviously, crypto is traceable. Okay, you've got to bear that in mind as well. There's also the precious metals side of thing as well. And barter is fantastic as well. So I kind of look at it and go, all right, if that, for me personally, I'm starting to put things in place. You go thinking long term ahead. If this were to happen, what would I do? What would I put in place while it's easy and while supply is there as well? Because you can't assume that it will always be there and readily available, right?
Sorry, we've just had a couple of interesting comments come through while saying that one. So first of all, cringe festival.
Yes.
I'm glad he didn't use the rainbow vomit. I go for that one. So Damien says he likes Bitcoin as an alternative to cash. So if they do try to tender what a legal tender, I don't know how you'd untender money, but if they stop using it. So Bitcoin, again, you have that whole thing about being traceable. Josh put it out there. They'll redefine cash like they did the vaccine.
The also thing is, guys, is that a lot of wealthy people put their money in assets rather than holding cash, because what you got to realize, inflation is eating into the value.
That's
of
right.
Cash.
That drops value.
So they're looking at things like, how do I buy businesses? And then when whatever currency is used, then I can just accept that as currency.
Sure.
There's also other assets like land that the people are looking at. Some are into shares. It's and I say that reluctantly because that is going to get really rocky in this month, which I'm excited about from a trading perspective. But for those who don't know what they're doing, it could be frightening times. It could be crazy times there. So you've got to look at what assets are are there that are likely to increase in value in the future, because cash is actually losing money. It's actually using what its purchasing power.
Yep. Now, I'm going to actually butt in something a little bit different on this one. On that, I just really want to thank everybody who is online and having these conversations, because this is, again, such an important part of what we're doing.
Well, it's a people show.
It is a people show, exactly right. And the interaction, I want to hear these questions. I want to know, this needs to be interactive, because this is, a show for the people. Full stop. Yep. Loving it.
There's an idea too that Travis, you brought around a year ago, where post offices could become
they already are
places where they do banking, and that's starting to catch on a bit, which has surprised me.
Where's my royalties?
It's been around 20 years,
but at the same time, and I think post offices have had to diversify.
Yeah, of course,
because everybody's electronic now, email. There's less need for them, with the exception of delivering packages. But even then, they have reduced their service staff in terms of the delivery rates of those packages.
I can't remember the last time I got a letter that wasn't a bill. All I get in the mail is bill and child support letters.
Yeah, pretty much me too.
I'm trying to think what other government.
Oh, when you see that
speeding tickets is what I get in the mail.
When you get the big envelope, you know what it is. Oh, the big envelope, that's always from the CSA, mate. Always.
Oh, I don't get those ones.
Oh, I do.
No, because the ex-wife just totally ignores everything that I sent through and all the breaches. So I just get the statement saying, "Hey, you owe X amount of dollars," and it's like, whatever, you take it out of my payments anyway. So
cool. Well, look. I think we need to look at diversifying the way that we trade with people. I think that's a very smart way, and we've always talking about a workaround. There's always a way of working around the system to benefit us.
But how do you work around the system? You got to know the system to be able to work around it. So that's why Derek's shows and his courses are really, really important, because if you don't understand the basics of it. So building the Wealth Foundation, Derek.
Yeah.
Where do you find out and sign up for the course?
Just go to our website, blueskyfactory.com.au, and book in a free 15-minute consult with myself.
Yeah, just do it. Honestly, I have. It is worth every single penny.
And what I'm also thinking, how do you feel? I know you did that. The one that we recorded here that we'd normally sell for $47, the 1 hour one.
Yep.
How do you feel about just throwing out to the listeners? Like, we're just chucking the link in the chat and let them have a look.
If they want that and that will benefit them, then absolutely. I'd love for them to have that as well.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Cool.
So there you go. We're giving you $47 worth today for those who just want to get to that video that Travis has discussed. We normally that we value at $47.
All right, mate. Pop on that link and away we go. All right, now you've got some information there about hackers, mate. I'm really curious about this, because remember, okay, all the internet banking and all of the digital ID and digital currency, this is for my protection. Okay, so I don't think hackers could. Surely they couldn't touch my stuff.
Hang on. We had one last question from Gus. So Gus is back as well.
G'day, Gus.
Cash will be different to the changes over the decimal currency. Time given to spend on or deposits in bank collectors will gain in 30 to 40 years.
You need better glasses.
I definitely do. Okay. They're so scratched. It's like I'm trying to find the non-scratch part to read. Cash will be no different to the change over to the decimal currency.
Oh, okay. Well,
so I did read it right. I was just reading it really poorly.
On the 14th of February, 1966.
Yeah,
there you go.
Time given to spend or deposit in bank. So you're saying either spend your money or put it into the bank to switch it over to the new currencies. Okay. Collectors will gain in about 30 years. So if you keep it, it'll be like 30, 40 years before it's worth any money.
Sure.
So,
okay. That's a good point as well. I mean, I would like to still see
it's a long time to wait for return on investment. 30 or 40 years. You can do a lot in 30 to 40 years.
That's like 2 generations when you think about it. So anyway.
All right.
So just hunting down this video for everyone who's in the chat.
If you could do that, mate, that'd be fantastic.
Let's head to the next show.
While you're doing that, I want to talk about the hacking, because I am getting annoyed about this. Like, I'm constantly getting communications from government, this, that, whatever, all these different organizations telling me about, the fact that we should be digital everything. They want, my ID and blood samples and DNA and yada, yada, yada. We've got a lot of hacking going on.
Well, the other week it's come out that one of the best actually got their funds, the crypto, taken from them, and it wouldn't be who you thought it would be. So there's an alternative coin called XRP, which is Ripple, and hackers stole around $112 million of Ripple focused cryptocurrency from a crypto wallet. Okay, it wasn't on an exchange. Whoa. And it was from the Ripple's co-founder and executive chairman, Chris Larsen. So he had his Ripple taken from him. It wasn't from their own corporate accounts. It was his personal XRP account. And they've been able to, he said, quickly, quote, catch the problem, notify exchanges to freeze the affected addresses. Law enforcement's already being involved. This was also put on the exchanges and told them, hey, Binance and Kraken, be looking out for this because they're concerned about these funds being laundered through a number of exchanges, not just all one, because if it was 112 million, that's going to flag. They're aware of the incident. They're looking at that apparently. But it's showing us that even the best can get hacked. Oh. You know, that they would have their finger on the creators of crypto.
Of course, they're
ones working with big players in this space, with the exchanges, with the governments as well, because Ripple is one that is trying to work with government to actually replace the SWIFT banking system. Okay. So it's an interesting space that they're working in, where money can be transacted by banks and in governments internationally very quickly and efficiently.
This may sound like a strange segue, but like, please, people everywhere, when you see these quizzes on social media, stop filling them in. I mean, a lot of it is literally people harvesting your information, your favorite pet, this, that, whatever, so they can get your password, so they can get in.
You raise an excellent point. I actually did a crypto course
right
before I started dabbling in crypto. I was, and you talked about courses before, Travis.
Yep.
I actually have invested in courses myself. I actually forgot I did that some years ago when it was really early on the scene.
Okay.
And discovered it was a whole different world of doing things with far less regulation. Working out who's a fake site and who isn't, and is very difficult to do, especially when they're overseas, because then you have no recourses to getting your funds back if they're not. So I went with people who are more experienced with that and said, I'll do your course. And it was an online course that I figured out myself and went from there. Doing your education is really, really important because you can get burned. And
this is why here at Edge we do push education, because I don't want people going out there and making decisions just willy-nilly. Get your education. If talk to yourself at Blue Sky Factory, talk to Brandon at Orange Brick Road if you need crypto advice. There are experts in these fields, okay, and with any of these fields, you've got other people who are associated with it, sort of, so they're reinforcing those thoughts. You're not just putting all your eggs in one basket. So please get out there, and whatever space that you're trying to build, whatever happens to be a portfolio, wealth, freedom with, look, please get your education.
So you've probably seen me frantically typing. I don't know if that picked up on the thing. So I actually gave out the wrong link. There was a back end link. So Josh pointed that one out. Thanks for that, Josh. So the correct link's been sent through now for Derek's video that he's done. So it's just up on the screen as well if you want it. We really should what do they call it? Tiny URL, that link, so it's a little bit easier for people to see. So the other one that I've just put through into the chat is a really good one. So talking about cyber security attacks, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them happen every year within Australia. Yes. So I'm just looking at Australia. Now, you'd also think, it can't be that bad. Some of these companies,
no, you've read this to me before, mate. This is frightening.
I'm just going to the most latest ones at the moment. Not that one. That's a YouTube link. Where did it disappear to? I'll have to pull it up again. Give me a moment. Cyber security hacks.
Well, let's just look at the companies that have been. But we know off the top of our head, right?
Yeah.
So
I've got it here for you. So Canberra Medical Center is one, the January 2024. LinkedIn got nailed, Adobe, Twitter, and more. Quantum Radiology, so that's all your health records have got taken. Nissan Australia got nailed. Hal Leonard's Australia, don't know what that is. Binge, Dan Murphy's, Gazman, Gnomes, and the Iconic. Also, this is all January.
Wow.
Labor, that one never came out. Labor hit by major government data breach, millions of files stolen from key departments. That's Labor. Did that one make it to the media?
I don't think I saw that on the news.
That's a new one. I haven't seen that one. So that was January.
Wow.
So Court Services Australia got nailed.
Privacy. Wow.
This is all January.
You cool? That's a cultural problem.
23andMe. I don't know. 10
Thanks
points.
For your support, guys.
Okay, December.
TikTok. Well, we knew that was always going to happen.
TikTok in December. St. Vincent's Health. This is all still December. Arts Centre, Queensland Rural Fire Services, University of Wollongong. ASIC. The Department of Child Protective Services said Aboriginal Family Support Services. What?
AFSS.
Said. SAID. That's said. Let's see, Aboriginal Child Protection Services contracted by South Australian government hit by a data breach. So, like, these are government officials that are getting nailed by these massive, and this is like we're only now getting into November.
The last 6 weeks, basically.
So, and DIA got nailed.
Yep.
Samsung, Australian Signals Directory.
DP World, which is basically the ones that, yes, I know how you feel about that, but they do all the container ships and all that sort of stuff.
So they're on the arse end of the ships.
Correct. All right. Let's move away from that.
That link is also
I really appreciate that
as well for everyone.
Really appreciate that. All right.
So it did make it. So here, this is one of the things I hate about the West Australian. They put all their articles, the good juicy ones, behind paid firewalls.
Well, they're a business, mate. They're not about giving people information. They're a business. They're about making money and selling propaganda. So, don't expect anything more from the old kitty lit at times.
Okay, good news. The second link I sent through actually loaded up, which is awesome. Should be a beautiful picture of Derek.
Wonderful.
Craig Kelly's Twitter was hacked this morning, apparently.
Wow.
And Josh is always a good source of things. Sure, boss, sure. Okay, I don't know what that's about. But anyway,
some context there. All right, moving on.
Despite what the Western media would like you to believe about Russia,
they're always rushing to get somewhere.
As far as their, in terms of the conflict with Ukraine, Russia's banks are making record profits.
Gee, I wonder why.
They made a record $36.8 billion in profit last year.
It's all the oligarchs like sending money out of Russia and they're copping fees and charges and all that.
That's about 3.3 trillion rubles. And the central bank of Russia is really surprised by this. It was driven by demand for mortgages and loans to finance large business acquisitions.
Right.
Russia's rolled out discount mortgages last year, supporting its sanctions-hit economy. You notice, that Russia has been partly with its government funding families to get them into houses as well. So
imagine that, a government actively taking control on the cost of living. Oh, gee, I just wonder what countries could do with that.
Mortgage lending rose nearly 35% from a year ago, and Russians are rushing to buy home, pun intended, on state-backed subsidized mortgage rates at the central bank. And they've been winding down the discounted mortgage program. This is really, really fascinating where this is going. So dig a little bit deeper. I think they were really well prepared for this conflict, and it might stretch out for longer than
I think
most would hope so. And
unfortunately,
they've got funds rolling in for it. So, yeah.
Sorry, I've got a bit of an update on the Craig Kelly things, and thanks for this, Josh, by the way. So, so when Craig Kelly got hacked, apparently someone posted a porn link onto his Facebook page.
Okay. Well, why am
it's just kind of funny because we were talking about DP World earlier.
Oh. All right. Well, okay. I'm going to Russia right now. Okay. Could this have a lot? Also, am I just spitballing here? But could this have a lot to do with the Brexit situation as well? The Brexit, wrong thing. BRICS situation rather, with the fact that they're now tying things to gold, the alliances with other nations. Could that be?
I think that would certainly definitely help them in relation to that. A lot of the country's growth as well is being attributed to massive military and government spending.
Okay.
Obviously, the military spending.
We know where that's going.
Yeah, they're going to need food. They're going to need people on the line. They're going to need their troops, medical supplies. There is concern from the central bank there that they run the risk of overheating, and both consumer and corporate lending growth are expected to slow this year as it that'll affect the hitting the profits. But they've weathered it really well. They've gotten through from an economic perspective.
Got to remember who's their leader.
Yeah,
Putin. He's someone who's very decisive, very on the ball. I think Putin is a lot more intelligent and financially savvy than what people give him credit for.
Oh, no question.
Do I support what he's doing? No, I think the war's stupid and it's retarded. I still think it's NATO's fault for the war, and they shouldn't have done that. And it's the everyday people are going to suffer from it. But I can't see what Ukraine's doing to support financially their citizens. Versus you look at what the Russians are doing to support their citizens, and it's like,
well, I'm not going to agree with you on any part of that. Although I don't like people dying, because I don't like people dying, I don't like war, full stop. But I do understand exactly why Russia have done what they did.
Yeah, I understand why.
NATO, right? The West is effectively trying
They're
to
the
take
cause
away
of the war, not
They
Russia.
are exactly right. They're taking away that buffer zone. The whole idea of NATO and the whole idea of Ukraine existing was Ukraine to be that buffer zone between East and West, right? Okay, so the whole premise of NATO is now currently a lie.
Yeah.
Okay, it is just
Australia's part of NATO.
Exactly, but
which I don't know why.
it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, is what it is. So from that point of view, I can see the Russians. Look, they're protecting their sovereignty. Exactly what we talk about so often. The Ukraine, I'm sorry, and I know some Ukrainian people, and they're awesome people. Again, let's separate the politics. Just wait a moment. Separate the politics and the people, right? Because they're very different things. My Ukrainian friends are awesome people, but the reality is the politics in Ukraine has basically, the country has become nothing but a money laundering center for a very long time and a sex trade center for a very long time. Okay, it has become very much the black market there for so many of these politicians in the West who want to launder money.
Especially
Let's be very real about
Biden.
this.
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it, to see the economic responses of both nations. You've got Zelensky running around doing fundraising for how many years, and you need to give more, you need to give more, we need to give more.
Especially in
and Russia's recording profits here with their centralized, that takes their centralized bank by surprise.
Yeah.
So you see the contrast here.
It's horrendous.
And yeah.
I love the fact that Russia's turned around going, right, if you're trying to block us from this one system, fine, we'll get out, we'll do it in a different way. So they've been, again, very proactive. Like, I have to give them credit for the way they've handled this. I don't think the campaign into Ukraine was done very well. I think running out of fuel is a stupid thing considering how much fuel they actually generate. But in the level of economic control, what they've done, I think they've done a really good job. But I also think if Trump was the president of America, I don't think the war would never have happened in the first place. So
my point is this: dig deeper. Look at what's actually going on as opposed to the propaganda that's being discussed here. This has been reported by BusinessInsider.com. But yeah, it's really important to bear that in mind. Things are not always as they appear, particularly in terms of reporting on war. It's so ladled with propaganda, and you've got to bear that in mind.
Thoroughly agree with that. All right. Well, look, this is, again, we always talk about the way that politics and finance cross, and that's a very, very good example of that.
I just hate the fact that a lot of politicians in Australia are blaming cost of living on the war in Ukraine.
No, it's ridiculous.
When I think you came up, it was like
it's insulting to our intelligence.
3% or something of our GDP was actually from imports from Ukraine or something. Like the level of trade that we have is dismal. Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
So, and everything that they're saying is causing the cost of living, we generate ourselves anyway. So why the hell are we sending, for example, our oil and fuel? Why are we sending that offshore to get processed? Why don't we keep a certain amount in Australia for Australians to use and export our surplus rather than using it as a source of income?
If you're going to go on that front, what is, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but the price of oil as far as crude is quite reasonable. And I'll invert those comments at the moment compared to historic levels. But look at what we're paying at the pump. Look at even
what are you paying out the pump at the moment?
Well, really depends. But I'm going to say
I feel like with diesel,
right, about 190 a litre is kind of the average.
So I was driving past a Shell petrol station. It was like 199.9 for diesel.
Sure.
There's a new company in WA called Burke. So at $1.79 a litre.
There you go.
So how come they're 20 cents a litre cheaper?
I paid $1.52 the other day.
Yeah, I know where you made. I know exactly where you made that.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, there are better alternatives, and this goes back to the show that we were recording for Freedom Fridays about Woolworths price gouging and all that sort of stuff. You don't have to shop at the major supermarkets. You can shop at other places. You don't have to stick to the major corporations.
You don't, and I don't. I go to the small places. My fruit and veg comes from independents or markets or whatever.
Fruit and veg. Who eats that? No.
I buy it. I put it.
It's funny because I live with a vegetarian.
I buy it and put it in the fridge, you know. But yeah, there are alternatives, and you know what? I don't get me wrong. I still go to the majors for some things. Unfortunately, that's I'm not good at hunting, so I've got to go and do these sorts of things. But ultimately, I try and buy my meat from independent butchers. I try and buy my veggies from independents as well. It can be done. It can be done quite well.
We've had a very interesting question come through from Damien. It's on screen at the moment.
Yep.
TikTok is asking about World War III, for example, conscription.
Yes, good point.
Thoughts about conscription.
We touched on this on the Freedom Friday show last week.
I actually like this one because I don't mind it actually.
See,
because I think that's
because you have daughters, mate.
Yeah.
I think they should be going to the military as well. And no. I've got a boy coming. So just for the people listening at home, yes, Luana's pregnant. That's why we sent her to Vietnam now, because it's like a family tradition thing. They go back to see their ancestors out the family temple.
I think what we're finding now, when conscription was done back in World War II, I think we didn't have access to information in the world like we do now. In this era, we have such a plethora of information that people are now starting to wake up and go, hang on a second, war is more about politics than it is defending our borders.
We got a lot of comments coming through.
All right. I thoroughly agree with that.
So I think people are tired of their lives being dictated to them by public servants who have their own self-interest at heart, as opposed to the interests of the nation. I mean, you've got to look at this too. I mean, why did Australia go to war in World War One? And why do we, it was
allies to England.
I know that, but that was England's war, right?
No, it was ours because we're allies. We were signed up to a mutual defense.
On the other side of the world, they had
what Turkish man had offended an Australian, right?
Yep.
Back in those days.
No, I get that, but we had a legal obligation.
I understand that. Again, it was politics.
Should we just cancel our legal obligations?
Okay, so this is a great point of the debate. And this is where people are waking up and going, hang on a second, do I want my child to go fight a war that's all about politics?
No, absolutely
And who's
not.
pulling the strings here? I mean, we've just been talking about, is NATO the one picking the fight with Russia?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Who's NATO made up of, and who's controlling NATO? Okay. Yep. So this is the thing that we're discussing here, in terms of it's going deeper, and we're in an era where we're seeing more organizations rather than countries going to war.
It's getting to the point where wars will not be fought by humans on the front line. It's going to be drones, it's going to be cyborgs and all that sort of stuff. So the war for the actual physical human casualties for the soldiers is going to get less and less. It's going to be more and more about civilian casualties.
Doesn't matter. Those droids can affect humans and target humans, right?
So the reason I'm supportive of conscription is the military is, like, in Australia, is one of the last bastions of maleness, and everything else is getting woke and queer and whatever.
No, they're ruining the military.
It is also going there, but at this stage, it is still. They can still teach the younger generations the difference between a man and a woman, and teach men masculine things, because schools have given up on that. Universities have given up on that.
Yep.
You try and bring that into a workforce, you don't get fired, sent off to HR and all that sort of shit.
Okay, let's throw another.
From that perspective, I think conscription is good.
Okay.
So especially how they do it in Italy, they do it in a lot of the Asian countries, where once you finish, you turn 18, you have to spend 2 years in the military.
So you're okay for your daughters to get the mandated vaccine to be in the military?
I'm not. Okay, so good. That's a different issue. Again.
No, it's not a different issue, because it's called conscription. It's against your will.
That's right.
And so are the mandates, vaccination. This is you have to go fight, right? So keep that in mind. Now, conscription equals mandate.
Absolutely. Now, I have several mates who are in the forces who I respect massively, who are manly men, who that they have gone in there for the best of intentions, best of reasons, all of that, and they do the right thing by this country, and I love them for it. Now, several of them have talked to me about the destruction of the military from the inside out, and what is happening at the moment. It is real. They are feminizing it. They are destroying it.
Yep.
They are, and you know what? My opinion is, okay, if women want to fight, women should be able to fight. So I've got no issue with that. Okay. I mean, I know that Hillary Clinton once said that, of course, that the main victims of war are women and their children. And of course, Hillary was always bang on. She didn't even consider the 99.8% of casualties being men. Small issue, right? Okay. So, but I think, look, if you want to go and join the military, either gender, in fact, a friend who's a woman who's in the military as well, that's fine. I don't think conscription is fair. I don't think it's right. I think I put it down with mandates, exactly that. You should not be forced to do something you do not wish to do. I understand what you're saying about national service. I get that. That's a different thing.
But here's the thing, right? We engage the army in war to do violent things for us and to defend us and to keep us safe at night.
Correct. Yep.
And that's what's happening there.
Yeah.
We aren't supporting our veterans with post-trauma.
No way. Not at all.
And correctly, right? So the cost of going to war is not just life,
correct,
but it's the life of the individual who returns, who's broken in their mental capacities, right?
Yep. And physical as well.
There is Also, a phenomena going on. You've highlighted about the wokeness that's entered into the military, that in the eyes of enemies weakens us as a country. And we saw this in the United States. I said this on international television. You think generals wake up caring about what pronouns they're going to use and defend each day?
It's ridiculous.
Why are they bringing that into the military? The job is a messy job.
No.
It's about discipline, and it's about you are allowing someone to go in and kill on your behalf. That's right. What the army and that's what the military forces do.
Sure.
Okay, so let's get to some of these comments.
Yes, please do.
So we got another one from Damien.
Yep.
Are supermarkets inquiry coming up? Will it do anything? So I think he wants to ask about the supermarket inquiry into the price gouging. So he wants to find out, do you guys actually think it's going to
I
solve
think it'll
any
do absolutely
issues?
sweet FA.
Yeah.
I think that, as usual, it'll be like exactly the same. It'll be like the one into the aged care, which basically nothing happened. The one in the banking industry, the one into the family law court system. It just doesn't even ever happen. We never get a royal commission into that.
The mortgage side of things, actually a lot on the back end got changed on how mortgages and all that sort of stuff, and the back end behaviors of the banks. So it actually made it a lot harder for the banks to take houses. So there were some good things. A lot more needed to be done. The farmer who lost his farm and everything because it was like a week behind actually got his farm back. So there was some small wins in there, but as a large majority, it was shit house.
Yeah. Look, I think that again, this comes back to the people
like
who vote.
A slap wrist.
This is the people that we vote into power. Ultimately, comes down to that. If you keep putting sheep and weak sheep at that into power, this is what you're going to get. You need to actually start getting. You remember when we used to say, having balls to do something, right? You need to vote for people with balls, and that can be men or women, not in the physical sense, but in the
they've got a spine. We'll make it
a spine. We'll go with spine.
A spine. Right. Have they got a spine? Have they got the spine to stand up? Are they a jellyfish?
Well, you guys talked about this earlier in the show. As everyone got their price, and they're bought out.
Yep.
Right. How much corruption is bought out? We just don't hear about it, see about it. Done deals. We'll do this for you if you vote this way, etc., etc.
I can't be bought. I'll tell you right now, I can't be bought.
Well, you just said in the previous show you could.
No, so I was 12 years old. I was taught but I was taught a lesson. But I was taught a lesson. That's what I'm getting at. Right?
I know how to buy you out easy.
Where's that?
All right, I'll give you your kids for 6 years. You do this, I'll give you your kids for a year.
Okay, you know what? You've just bought me. You're absolutely right.
You've got a price. It's not money, it's something else. Everyone has a price. You just got to know what that price is.
Good point. Very
so,
good point.
Moving on, did you catch the beat up on Trump on 60 Minutes last night?
What a joke.
Really against the criminal being able to run for office, lefty media in a tears. So that's from Steve James. Welcome to the show, Steve. By the way, Steve. I love your logo. 8:32.
Yeah, look, really, really good point. I watched it, and I do everything possible to not watch mainstream media, but I thought I'm going to have a.
We got rid of all our TVs. We don't have a TV in the best thing in the world.
Honestly, I've had the TV on for the last couple of days for strange reasons. No, and the
F1's on, isn't it?
No, not yet. Not yet. It's the only reason my TV's ever on for motorsport. But no, for political stuff, and I cannot get over. Oh my! I wish I could remember the word they kept using for Trump. It was just ridiculous. That was not journalism at any level. That was pure propaganda. It was pure. Actually, it's election interference, is what it is, right? Whether you like Trump or you don't, who cares, right? I care about elections being fair and honest, and I really care that our media, the way that they manipulate and control people, get that ugly black box and turn the thing off or throw it out the window, whatever you need to do, or just keep it for the motorsport, whatever. Well, that works in my house. But it's just like, as I say, I've had 2 days of having it on as a bit of an experiment, and I can't watch it.
I feel soiled when I watch it.
Yeah, I feel dirty. I do. When I watch it now, as a person who understands what's happening behind the scenes, it just disgusts me. And the human beings I see there selling narratives on there disgust me.
Oh, sorry. Good comment about the natural conscription and like the wars and all that sort of stuff. So, Stephen, send in the politicians to duke it out.
Love it. Love it.
There was, I think it's a Japanese
Hunger War style or Hunger Games rather style.
Either way, as long as they all end up dead, I'm happy. I think it was Japan's. I think it's Japan where they have the parliament.
Yep.
So fisticuffs are allowed. So what happens every time, like all the politicians are relatively young, like when I say for politicians, 40 to 50 side of things, because what happens if there's like a disagreement or something, it's an all-on brawl. So what happens, and if someone happens to be knocked out, they can't vote, well, so be it. So I'm like 80% sure. I've seen the videos about it where it's a full-on punch-ups on the parliament. So, yeah, I think that's a great reason not to have 80-year-old geriatrics in parliament.
I actually thought that was India, but there you go.
No, it was definitely an Asian country.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
saw it like 15 years ago. So.
All right. Now, we've only got a few minutes to go.
So there's more comments.
Oh,
like I said, you triggered a flood. I'd gladly fight for Australia soil to defend my country, but I'd prefer to go to jail than fight on a foreign soil. So that the elites can carve up the world. So I agree with that. The national conscription isn't to defend other countries. I still think Australia should be focusing on Australian soil and on Australian issues. We've got too many issues here to be fucking around over in other countries.
That's right.
So
I will fight to death, and I have absolutely no issue with this. I'm absolutely happy to fight to death and lose my life to save this country and my children's future. Yeah, but I'm not doing it in the Ukraine.
So
I'm not doing it on somebody else's border. I'm doing it here.
So our emergency services are always overrun. So this is something that I did. I think in America they've got the National Guard, where if there's like an emergency or something, the National Guard can come and help out. Sure. We don't really have anything like that. We got the Army Reserves, but that's like a little bit limp-wristed. No, it's not. They're weekend warriors. So I'd like to have a standby something like let's call it National Guard or National whatever, where you've got a good 10 to 20,000 people across the country who can at a moment's notice go, right, you know what, there's been a tsunami here, there's been a flood here, then go out and they actually get the shit done.
That's what your reserves do. That's exactly what they do.
How many reserves?
And that's what hanging with the SES do.
Yeah, but how many of them are there?
There's quite a number.
No,
certainly, I think no. I've got know a lot of people in the SES, and the work that they do is fantastic.
It is fantastic. So this isn't a beat up on the SES.
I know it's not.
It's just they're massively underfunded, understaffed, undervolunteered. They don't have the resources that they need, where the military does. So that's why I'm saying, like, a lot of these things that are just all like, oh, we need something like this, so let's just put it together. It hasn't really been thought out. That the budget hasn't been allocated for it. It hasn't been done properly. By having a offshoot of the military. So using the national consignment for a year or two after school. So these are all 18 to 24-year-old strong, healthy people. And as I said, people, not men, because it should be for women and for guys. So to learn how to change a tire, how to fix a car, how to put a ratchet strap onto a trailer, how to pull a car that's bogged, how to get it out of the ground, how to tow a car safely. How many people under the age of 30 know how to safely tow a car?
How many of them know how to drive a bloody manual? I mean, come on.
So all these life skills should be taught to them by the military. They shouldn't be there to be like the World War One or two. I think it was First World War when they had the national conscription and they did everything by date of birth. You were literally conscripted into the military, then shipped off for a war.
Sure.
That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about putting to learn basic skills that are no longer being taught in everyday life.
Okay. Well, you know what? That falls back to parents, and that falls back to the
destruction of the education system and destruction of the family court.
Spot on.
Yep.
Yeah. So. You know what? Because if I know if a lot of little boys and girls still had dads at home, they'd grow up much better people who could change tires and things like that.
Josh came up with a great idea. National service in the emergency services is a great idea.
Oh, I like that.
I actually genuinely like that. Instead of doing conscription into the military, you can do national service as SAS.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, and they'll learn.
Teaching people to use a chainsaw, like, it's not a dangerous tool unless you're a fucking idiot.
Well, I know I've seen someone stick them between their legs and try and start them. So
that's where you're grateful for having two safeties on a chainsaw.
Jeez, yeah.
God, his balls would be happy.
That's what's the Darwin Awards? That's what that is. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is a way to start countering the effect of the Darwin Awards.
Yeah, I love that. All right,
because we got too many warning labels.
We do now, mate. We're running out of time, so I'd like to address the questions that have popped up on the screen, the ones that you can actually see, and then I will throw to Derek to tie the.
I think we've covered most of them. If you guys do have any other questions, make sure you throw it through. So Derek,
it's tied up, mate.
Looking at this, we got, was it 54?
No, you don't look at that at all. Look at just trust me, do not look at the screen.
No, the time's the same, so there's time's correct.
Yeah, you've got 3 minutes, my friend.
I'd sum it up. I think we need to get out of our headspace that somebody else will be there to look after us.
Yep.
That you can rely on governments and other organizations to be there for you. basically you really need to get back into your life purpose if you're not living that, and go, what is it that I got to do for myself, for my family? And it's not a selfish thing. It's actually a contribution to community. The world needs you to do your life assignment, your life purpose, right? And it's about that. With all the chaos going in the world, I'm super excited about what's happening. There is a big wealth transfer happening at the moment.
I'm glad that you're excited. Most of us are terrified, but okay.
It's got to disrupt the evil.
Terrifying, Aaron.
Thanks, mate.
To disrupt the evil, it's got to get bumpy.
Oh, I joke about it. Like, okay, you got to crack eggs to make an omelette.
But we are seeing things improve. Look,
we are.
2 years ago, I said this to you. I said, Aaron, it's going to get better. And you're like, I really hope so. Remember that line?
Yes.
And look what's been happening in Europe with the farmers rising up and taking their rights back. You know, and this has been going on for decades. He's trying to encroach on them. Look what's happening in the United States, right? In terms of the Texas border, and people are taking their rights back. It's phenomenal what is going on. It's exciting what is going on, because it'll have a domino effect on the other worlds and nations around the world. Absolutely. When these nations take their power back, you know, it'll have an effect on Australia. But we've got to do that for ourselves as well. We've got to be independent. We've got to be creative. We've got to be
personal responsibility.
Yeah,
it's what we've got to do.
And we as a nation determine where we're going, where is our future, rather than leaving that decision to someone else.
So I've just got to quickly jump in. Edith, not her real name, but I know what it is.
Okay.
Welcome to the stream.
Okay, Edith.
You know who it is.
Okay, I don't, but
you do.
Well, I'll figure it out later.
DJ Kai's sister.
Oh, right.
So she's just jumped in. So who's going to carry the boats?
Who's the boats?
Yeah, I don't know. She's
Oh, okay. I've got to figure that one out later, but okay. All right. This is the end of the show. We are going to tie it.
We're just speaking about DJ Kai. You got to plug her show.
Oh, okay.
And also, it's awesome K-pop music. So
okay, if you like K-pop, okay, this is what the kids like. I don't know, right? It is fantastic. All jokes aside, I throw it on, and I love it. Actually, it's really, really cool. I have it playing.
And there's none of that transgender shit in it.
No, exactly right. It's none of that rubbish. It's just good old-fashioned electronic music. Right?
It's not electronic. Come on, Dreamcatcher actually has musical instruments and all that sort of shit.
Why don't you talk about it? You seem to know more. I put it on. I like it.
I got corrupted by the girls, but anyway.
All right, fair enough. Well, yeah, okay. DJ Kai, she does her thing every single
what day?
Every single Thursday from 8 p.m. here on Edge Radio Australia. Now, speaking of Edge Radio Australia, I hope you're enjoying it. If you've got an Apple, edgeradioaustralia.com. If you've got a normal computer, whatever, edgeradioaustralia.com. If you've got one of those Android phones or Android products or whatever tablet, get our app. It's a fantastic thing. Hit the old button. One day, Travis will give me the way into the back of it, and I can actually pretty it up a little bit more and do some more on it. But I've only been asking.
I don't trust you with any passwords.
I've only been asking for 6 months. Can't rush these things. Grab the app. You never gave it to me. All right, that is the show. Well, we have our domestic.
You have the password anyway, so it's the same as everything else.
Okay, well, I'll get on to that.
You do have it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Derek, for the greater wealth, mate. Thank you for everything you bring every week. Thank you to all our guests online. I love you to bits. We've gone over time.
I've just had a realization. It's like we are a domestic violence couple, and Derek's the mediator in the middle.
I'm thinking you guys
Derek's
want to talk.
How does that make you feel?
Tell me about your mother.
That's right. All right. Before we start talking about our childhood, let's get out of here. It's Edge Radio Australia. The Greater Wealth. Have a fantastic week. Make sure you kick back and enjoy the replay of this. This will be playing again on Sunday. We love you all. And remember,
I'm hungry.
Freedom of speech matters.
I'm hungry.